Opening day is here. Let's talk about which Atlanta Braves are going to be the most important in 2026. Yes, welcome on into Braves Today, your source for news, notes, and updates on your Atlanta Braves. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby, award-winning baseball writer and podcaster. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. You can find all my written work, bravestoday.com. That's the Braves Today Substack, as this is both a podcast and a newsletter. We're proudly part of the Believe Podcast Network and presented to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app or go to fanduel.com to get started. We have finally made it to opening day. It is ridiculous that the Braves don't play a game until 2 days after the first game of the season. It's a little bit much, but had a chance to watch a bunch of baseball on Thursday, and now let's talk about the 2026 season. We're going to preview the Kansas City Royals a bit later in the show, as well as a fun announcement about something we're going to do this year, something that we're adding. But before we do that, let's talk about the Braves roster, because yesterday I went through my thoughts about a lot of the other divisions and other teams, talked about the East and the Mets and the Phillies, talked about who's going to win the National League and the American League, or who should be the favorites in each division. I didn't actually give predictions in there, but I want to kind of do some of that today as it pertains to the Braves, right? Who's going to be the MVP of the team? Who's going to win the team Cy Young Award? Who's the X Factor? Who's their top reliever? Who's their breakout star? Their top rookie? All that stuff. And if we're starting off with MVP, the easy and obvious answer is Ronald Acuña Jr. I mean, it's not a surprise. Ronald Acuña Jr., if he is fully healthy and has a full season, you're looking at 40 home runs. And you're looking at, I would assume, at least mid-30s in stolen bases, if not more. Remember, the only 2 years that he's played 120 or more games was 2019 and 2023. In 2019, he had 41 home runs and 37 stolen bases. He scored 127 runs that year. Both his run and his stolen base total led the National League. He was a Silver Slugger and All-Star and a fifth-place finisher for MVP. And then in 2023, he won MVP with 73 stolen bases and 41 home runs. And he led all of baseball in runs with 149, in hits with 217. That stolen base figure was the best. The on base of 416 was the best in all of baseball. And his OPS of 1.12 was best in the National League. So the easy answer here is, if he's healthy, Ronald's the MVP. It's probably another 40 homer season, and he can conceivably get to at least 40 stolen bases if he wants to. Think we saw a lot last year. He was not really interested in stealing that much. He went 9 for 10 on stolen base attempts. But some of that can be attributed to his recovery from the ACL tear and trying to be a little cautious. In winter, he went 11 for 11 on stolen bases. And so, not out of the realm of possibility for him to do more. Now, some of the projections I've seen, Baseball Reference's projections have him hitting 19 home runs and 23 stolen bases. That's a disappointment if that happens. But they also only have him at 428 plate appearances, so it's clear they expect him to miss some games. That's like 100 games of plate appearances. I think Ronald, if he's fully healthy, he's giving you most everything. He hit 290 last year. He had a better on base last year than he had in his MVP season. He had a 417 on base last year, a 416 in his MVP season. So that's the easy and obvious answer. Let's move on from Ronald and talk about who else could it be. I think saying Matt Olson If you say it's Matt Olson as the team's MVP, not necessarily the league's MVP, but the team's MVP, I think the case for that comes down to, can he get back some of the homer production that I'm going to say he seemingly lost? He led the National League in doubles last year with 41. He only had 29 home runs. It was his second consecutive year of 29 home runs. Reminder, in 2023, he had 54 home runs, led all of baseball, 139 RBI, led all of baseball, and a 604 slug, which led the National League. The 2023 offense isn't walking through that door. They're not hacking PitchCom again. But there is a path to Matt Olson putting up another high twos batting average. That 23, he hit 283. Last year, he hit 272. It was an OPS of 850. He had a slug of 484. So, yes, down from that 604 figure. I don't think he's ever going to do that again. But can he be a 40-homer bat? He's been it in his career in the past. 2021 with Oakland, his final year there, he hit 39 homers, had 111 RBI. Back in 2019, not even a full season. He played 127 games. He hit 36 home runs. It feels like Matt Olson should be able to be a 40-homer bat. And if you're batting him third, and you're batting him behind Ronald and I would assume Drake Baldwin, we'll get to that in a few minutes, then could he be a 4,100 guy? It feels possible. I don't think that's enough to win MVP in the league, not when Shohei Ohtani exists, but Matt Olson could do something like that and be the team's MVP if for some reason Ronald doesn't take the crown. I still think my wild card here, though, is Austin Riley. I still think young, thick Austin Riley, now that he has the beard and the flow, I still think he's the dark horse on this, because it's been 2 years now. He's been dealing with injury. I don't think we realize exactly how good Austin Riley can be. In 2021, he hit 303. He had a batting average over 300 in 2021 in 160 games. It's not like that was a small sample size. That was 662 plate appearances. He had 107 RBI. He had 33 home runs. He upped that to 38 and 37 the next 2 years, but his batting average sat in the high 270s. But OPS in the high 800s, 7th place MVP finish, 6th place MVP finish, 7th place MVP finish. He was not only a guy, he was a dude. And then the injuries in 24 and 25. I still think if everything breaks right, he is the guy that can surprise us. Because I do think with Austin Riley, there's more in the tank. And we haven't seen it in a couple years. And I'm not saying the other guys don't want it. But I'm saying Austin Riley maybe needs it a little bit more. And sometimes when it comes down to these things, it almost feels like at times it's just you deciding, hey, I'm going to do this. Look at Cal Raleigh last year for the Seattle Mariners. It really felt a little past halfway through the season, he said, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get these home runs. And he started tweaking his swing a little bit, trying to get the ball more in the air to the pull side. He started selling out for it a little bit more. That's why his average was so low. But he hit 60 home runs. I feel like Austin Riley's that guy that could do it. Outside of those three, it's hard to figure out who else on this roster could be the MVP of the Atlanta Braves offense in 2026. You probably would have to combine, just say position players, and combine offense and defense and do something like Michael Harris. Hey, Money Mike was 2020 last year. If this plate discipline, this much improved plate discipline we saw in spring training, if this holds up, this version of Michael Harris could be a 30-30 guy. Can you imagine if Michael Harris plays Gold Glove caliber defense in center field, has a 30-30 season, and gets his batting average back up to his first 2 years when he was in the high, like the 290s, that dude is a legit MVP finisher. And I don't mean like down ballot 15th place votes. If you're a 30-30 dude with Gold Glove caliber defense in center field and you're hitting almost 300, that is like top 10, top 8, maybe top 5 finish in MVP. Michael Harris could be that guy. That's a big stretch, don't get me wrong. He walked 16 times last year. That is a big stretch to say, hey, he's going to be a 30-30 guy that hits 300. But like, he's been a 20-20 guy. He's hit close to 300 before. It just takes a little bit of improvement for you to get there. So if you're looking at the team's MVP, that's kind of where I am. When it comes to the team's possible Cy Young, very similar situation. You have an obvious like favorite and then some guys who could surprise. We'll talk about that next right here on Braves Today. But first, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Grand Slam Getaways. These are bucket list bus trips by bus designed for fans who love the game and want to travel in style. There's 3 trips. You have 1 week left to sign up to go to Florida in May. But all of these trips depart from Atlanta. You get field level tickets to multiple Braves road games, 3-star hotels, daily breakfasts, and a full slate of other ballparks and activities. Appearances by former MLB players, giveaways, fun side trips, whether it's like the Louisville Slugger Museum, Bull Durham filming locations, the beach, all that kind of stuff. You could be retired, a baseball nut, parent and child looking for a great summer vacation. This is a stress-free way to hit the road with fellow fans. The 3 trips, July is to the Northeast, June is to the Midwest, May is to Florida. You have 1 more week to sign up. Next week on Friday, a week from today, is when we're cutting that off for the trip to Florida. It's also the cheapest of the 3. So if you are interested but don't want to spend a ton of money, this is the trip you need to go on in May to Florida. So reserve your spot now with a small deposit. Head to grandslam-getaways.com to make this summer a grand slam. Again, check it out now, grandslam-getaways.com to let the baseball adventure begin. Welcome back to Braves Today. Lindsay Crosby. Just like Ronald Acuña Jr. is just the de facto favorite to be the team's MVP this year, I think Chris Sale is the de facto favorite to be the team's Cy Young this year, which makes a lot of sense. Just like Ronald Acuña Jr. won an MVP, Chris Sale's won a Cy Young, so it makes sense that he would be the favorite. And the thing that kind of blows my mind is last year, before he got hurt, like, yes, he started off worse. He had that terrible stretch at the beginning when they couldn't figure out what was going on. His arm slot had dropped. His mechanics were a little wacky. Through the first, I want to say it was the first 5 starts of the season, he had a 6.17 ERA. Now, small sample size stuff. The field independent pitching was a 3.91. Still not great, but much better than a 6.17. But he had allowed 16 earned runs in 23 1/3 innings, 4 home runs given up. And then after that extra bullpen that he had, where Schwellenbach and Grant Holmes grabbed the tablets and fixed them, from that point on, Chris Sale pitched to a 1.76 ERA. This is from late April, from April 25th. He had 5 innings of 1-run ball in Arizona against the Diamondbacks. And then 7 innings of 2-run ball in Colorado versus the Rockies. But from that Arizona game through the end of the year, 1.76 ERA, 2.39 field and independent pitching, with a grand total of 7 home runs allowed in 102 1/3 innings. And again, he had allowed 4 home runs in the season's first 22 or 23 innings. He fixed a lot of stuff there, right? So if Chris Sale is healthy all season, which is clearly not a guarantee, As we've seen with Braves in the last now 3 seasons, counting this one, it's no guarantee they will ever stay healthy. But he is the obvious favorite to be the team's Cy Young, the internal Cy Young. Call it the Greg Maddux Award if you want to call it something Braves related. There you go. But outside of him, is there anybody else who could challenge for this? I don't know if Grant Holmes or Ronaldo Lopez are going to do it. Health is part of that, clearly, as it is with everybody. I wouldn't be shocked if Bryce Helder, who's, knock on wood, never gotten hurt in his career, I wouldn't be shocked if he got hurt this year, the way things have gone. But maybe Grant Holmes has done some work to fix his fastball. Grant Holmes' fastball, and I wrote this newsletter over at Braves Today. I believe we called this Grant Holmes and the terrible, horrible, no good, very bad fastball. On a sheer run value perspective, minus 14, it was the 8th worst individual pitch for any qualified starter in baseball. Now that's an accumulation stat. The more you pitch, the more run value you can get. When you go to a rate version of it, run value per 100 pitches, it was the 7th worst pitch, any individual pitch among qualified starters. So, off of Grant Holmes' fastball, guys hit 330 with a 651 slug, 48.3% hard hit rate. And it wasn't too much higher than the expected numbers. So, it just got crushed. He's made some adjustments to try and fix it this year. We talked about that on the show. There was a show that we did where we went all through the Joey Wentz two-seamer. We went through Ronaldo Lopez's tweaks, Grant Holmes' tweaks, J.R. Ritchie with what he's calling his Vulcan split. We went through all of that. It's back in your feeds. It's like the penultimate pitching nerd podcast that I've probably ever done here. If I ever have Pitching Ninja on, I'm going to send that to him and say, look, this is what I did. But given that his velocity looks to be better in spring, he's like the only guy that's been throwing hard in spring. And I think for him, it was on purpose. He was trying to test the UCL and the flexor tendon that he had issues with last year. So he was throwing harder. If that fastball is legitimately better, he's probably the only one that I could see, provided he stays healthy, which is just a given here, probably the only one that could do enough to be in the running with Sale. And even then, I still think he's at least a tier behind Sale, even at his best. Nothing against Grant Holmes. Chris Sale's just, to me, one of the best pitchers in baseball. So just like the MVP argument, maybe even more so than that one, this one is like, there is a clear and obvious dude, and the rest of you guys have to try to catch him or figure it out, right? But there are X factors. There is top reliever, the breakout star. The X factor for me, I've kind of already mentioned him. I waffle back and forth between Austin Riley and Michael Harris. And I think I go with Michael Harris simply because we expect it from Austin Riley. He has the largest individual contract the Braves have ever given out. He is one of your 3 aircraft carriers at the top of the order up there. You expect him to do this, right? We expect him. We need him to be that guy. Michael Harris, we need him to be good. But if he legitimately does what we think he can do, it's a tall task. If he's a 30-30 guy that hits close to 300, the ceiling for this team is ridiculous. Because he's been batting towards the bottom of the order. You probably would move him up if he's hitting that well, but still, a guy like that, he is the X factor for the offense this season. And again, I'm only saying him over Austin Riley because we expect Austin Riley to do that at this point. And by expect, I mean we need him to do that. He's being paid like he can do that. So I'm going to go with Michael Harris. The breakout star, this is going to be a little bit controversial for some people. I'm going to go with Eli White. I think Eli White has the potential of being a breakout star for the Braves this year. I know that last year he did some good things. He established himself as the best Major League Baseball player in the state of Tennessee for games played in the state of Tennessee. The Speedway Classic, obviously the only one they've ever had. He hit 2 home runs. He was the MVP of the game. He finished with 10 home runs and 10 stolen bases in 105 games and 271 plate appearances. That projects out to somewhere between a 2020 and a 25-25 season. If you take that and you spread it over a full 162 games, that is potentially a 2020 or 25-25 season. Now, his on base was very low. His batting average wasn't great. I do think that's a thing that needs to grow, but he can play all 3 defensive positions. He's one of the fastest players on the team. And at least to open the season, when you don't have Ha-Sung Kim, you don't have Sean Murphy, and we'll find out for sure today when the lineup comes out for tonight. But at least the early indications are that he's going to be a primary outfielder against left-handed pitching. And if Mike Yastrzemski's in a game late and they throw a lefty reliever out there against him, you're probably going to see Eli White either pinch hit or somebody else pinch hit and then Eli White go play defense. He's going to get plenty of run this year. And I'm a believer that he can be really good. I dove into some of the batted ball information yesterday after we found out that Jonah Heim was going to catch on opening day and Drake Baldwin would be the DH, and that was going to be the initial configuration against lefties, was Heim as the DH, Heim as the catcher, Baldwin as the DH. You got to give Baldwin days off from time to time, or half days from time to time. Jonah Heim in the last 3 seasons has been close to league average against lefties. He's been worse against righties. So if you're going to play Heim twice a week, you might as well say if there's a lefty on the mound, we'll throw Jonah Heim behind the plate and we'll let Drake Baldwin DH. Give Drake Baldwin, chance to catch his breath and all that. But I think Eli White's going to be in left field unless they just want Yastrzemski to take the field on opening day. As a big free agent signing, that could happen. Who knows? But when you look at some of the batted ball data for Eli White, his barrel rate against lefties, as if I remember right, it was barrel rate per plate appearance was higher than MLB average. Like he can see lefties pretty well. And when he can make contact, it's quality contact. Against lefties last year, he hit .244 with a slug in the mid-4s. 5 of his 10 home runs, he had 96 plate appearances against lefties. And again, small sample size. It's really like 200 plate appearances, I think, for numbers to fully stabilize for a handedness platoon kind of thing. But because it's just fun to do, projecting that out, if you take 5 home runs and 96 plate appearances, then a full 600 plate appearance season against lefties, that's a 30 homer season for Eli White. I'm not saying he's going to hit 30 home runs. You're not going to face 162 lefties in one season. I'm saying against lefties, his batted ball data is a little bit better than we realize, even if the production is not necessarily there yet. The process has been really good. So I think that Eli White getting a chance early to be the guy against lefties could end up being a big deal. We were all assuming when Ha-Sung Kim came back that Mauricio Dubon, who hits lefties well, would be playing left field in place of Mike Yastrzemski. If Eli White can hit lefties well, you can use Dubon in center for Michael Harris. You could use Dubon at second for Ozzie and let Ozzie have a DH day. Like, there's a lot of different options you could do if Eli White can hold his own in left. And I just have a feeling he's going to be kind of the breakout guy this year. Top reliever, this is a little bit controversial, I think, too. I'm going to go with Robert Suarez. Robert Suarez and Raisel Iglesias do a lot of the same things. Their top pitches, 4-seam changeup, and then sinker. The difference between these two is Raisel Iglesias has a slider. It was bad last year, the first half of the year. It had an outlier home run rate, but he has a slider. Suarez does not. And Suarez can pump 100 miles an hour, and Iglesias cannot. Iglesias did like 2 years ago. He didn't last year, if I remember right. So I just have a feeling that Suarez as a power pitcher, four-seam, changeup, sinker, that he's going to end up being the most valuable reliever for the Braves this year. He doesn't really have platoon splits. He can handle lefties as well as righties. When you have a changeup and a sinker, you have stuff going back to the arm side. You have pitches that move in those handedness situations. You're still taken care of. So I just feel like Robert Suarez is going to end up being the best reliever for the team. If Iglesias stumbles like he did last year, you have a legit closer you can swap. And he's got 76 saves in the last 2 years. He's been really good in the last 2 years. And he's your setup man behind your incumbent in Raisel Iglesias, but he doesn't have to be. You can make the change if you need to. In just a minute, let's talk about the Kansas City Royals, because in case you're not familiar with everything that they did, they had an edict to improve the offense, especially the outfield, over the winter, and I don't necessarily think they got it done. We'll talk about that next, right here on Braves Today. But first, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at IQ Bar, our exclusive snack, hydration, and coffee sponsor. IQ Bar protein bars, IQ Mix hydration mixes, IQ Joe mushroom infused coffee. This is the delicious, low sugar brain and body fuel you need to win your day. The IQ Bar protein bars are the smarter snack choice. Plenty of plant-based protein, tons of fiber, no added sugar. The IQ Mix, a zero sugar drink mix that hydrates with electrolytes, improves mood, and boosts clarity. And the IQ Joe is a mushroom-infused coffee designed for mental clarity and packed with 200 milligrams of natural caffeine. Plus, it comes in 4 different flavors that will totally transform your morning routine. Right now, IQ Bar is offering Braves Today listeners 20% off all IQ Bar products, including the Ultimate Sampler Pack, plus free shipping. To get your 20% off, text MLB to 64000. That's MLB to 64000. That's MLB to 64000. Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details. Welcome back to Braves Today. Lindsay Crosby. Let's talk about the Kansas City Royals. And again, reminder, I mentioned this yesterday. After the lineup is official today, I'm going to do a short, 10-minute show where we go through the lineup. We talk about Cole Ragans, what he likes to throw from a handedness perspective, how he attacks guys, everything you need to know about the show. It'll also be a newsletter. Think of it as a full-fledged scouting report. You've probably never seen a game preview like this. We'll do that this afternoon once the lineups are official for tonight and we know who is in the lineup and who is batting where for both teams. We'll go ahead and drop that. But in the meantime, let's talk about the Royals as a team, because last year was a little bit disappointing. They went 82-80. They were third place in the AL Central. And little bit of poor performance, the Pythagorean win-loss, which is runs scored versus runs allowed, said they should have been 83-79. So it was, it was close. But it's an offense driven by, I would argue, the best shortstop in baseball in Bobby Witt Jr. He led all of baseball in hits with 184. He led all of baseball in doubles with 47. He was a Gold Glove. He was a Silver Slugger. Hard to win both of those awards at the same time, guys. All-Star, 4th place MVP finisher. And this was a step down for him. In 2025, he had 211 hits. So he dropped 20-something hits from his previous total. He played 4 less games. He led all of baseball in batting average in 24 with a 332. He had a 295 this time. He's clearly a bum. He lost 125 points of OPS year over year. But he's looked good in spring. He looked fantastic with Team USA. You've got him. Last year was the breakout for Michael Garcia at third base. That is Ronald Acuña Jr.'s cousin. So they are family. They are both from La Sabana, Venezuela. And last year, All-Star, Gold Glove at third base, 14th place finisher for MVP. Michael Garcia hit 286 with an 800 OPS. He stole 23 bags. He only had 16 home runs. I feel like there's more in the tank, but his previous high was 7. He was a really good defensive shortstop, and now he is a Gold Glove caliber third baseman. So those two, Vinny Pasquantino at first base from Team Italy, and then Salvador Perez, that is what powers your offense. Salvador Perez, I feel like, is just going to live forever. He's going to be, again, catcher, first base, and DH. They also have Carter Jensen, who they called up last year. He did really well in limited action. He got just under 70 plate appearances, had an OPS of 941, and I think he hit 3 home runs in that stretch. Slug of 550. They're counting on him to be a DH when Perez is in the lineup, and a catcher when Perez is at DH or first base. They're going to kind of rotate Vinny P and Perez through first base and DH when Salvador's not behind the plate. But their goal this offseason was to fix the outfield. They did not do that. They brought in Lane Thomas on a 1-year, $5.25 million deal. They brought in Starling Marte on a 1-year, $1 million deal. They traded for Isaac Collins from the Brewers, who at one point in time last year was challenging Drake Baldwin for Rookie of the Year. He ended up finishing, I think he hit 263 with 9 homers and 16 stolen bases last year. He'll be the starting left fielder. You're probably going to do either Lane Thomas or Kyle Isbell in center. I think they're going to platoon there. Field's going to be some combination of Marte and Jack Caglione. If you're a college baseball fan, Jack Tawney is what they called him at Florida at University of Florida. He was a pitcher. He played first base. Massive power, massive home runs. But he's got a lot of swing and miss issues. I think he hit 157 last year and struck out plenty because he's still a work in progress, right? But the potential, 22% strikeout rate, but the potential's there. Weakness here is still obviously the outfield. Just it's not really that all inspiring. Jonathan India is at second base. It's fine, right? The infield's fine. The issue is the outfield. The rotation. Cole Ragans is back. Michael Wacha, Seth Lugo, Chris Bubick. Noah Cameron's the youngster. He's 26. It's a really good rotation. We'll break down, again, Cole Ragans later today. And then, provided nothing crazy happens, we'll do Michael Wacha on Saturday. And I think Seth Lugo's a starter on Sunday. We'll do those in order as they come. The bullpen, Carlos Estevez, I think is due for regression. He had good results last year, but the inputs didn't necessarily match the results, right? He had a 2.45 ERA, 42 saves, but he walked guys. He didn't strike out as many as you would like a closer to do. Lucas Erceg is the setup man. Matt Strahm, they got him from Philly via trade. They brought in Nick Mears for the bullpen via trade. They brought in Alex Lange via trade. They got a couple lefties back there, so no worries there. Strahm's a lefty. Daniel Lynch is a lefty who's a first-rounder there from 2018. And then Bailey Falter, their long man they got last summer from Pittsburgh. He's also back there. So they've got they have options, right? They have plenty of lefties. They're not going to be in a situation where they have to throw a righty against a pocket of righties if they want a lefty there. But I do think the Braves should be able to probably take 2 out of 3 in this one. I'm just probably never going to pick a team to take a sweep. It's hard to beat any team 3 times. But it feels like when you have the top of your rotation, you have Sale, you have Lopez, you have Holmes. I feel like Atlanta's offense is better than Kansas City's offense. I do think Bobby Witt Jr. and Ronald Acuña Jr. are the best players on their respective rosters. If you do that thing where you match up the players, Ronald Acuña Jr. and Bobby Witt cancel each other out, and then it's okay, I think Matt Olson's better than Vinny Pasquantino. I think Austin Riley can be better than Michael Garcia. Like, you can do that, and you can, like, I think Drake Baldwin as a hitter is better than Salvador Perez. Like, you can do that, and you can say, okay, Atlanta's lineup is better. They should be favored to win this game. And matter of fact, when you look at the odds, Braves on FanDuel, shout out Braves Today sponsor FanDuel, 1.5 run favorite on Friday night to beat the Kansas City Royals. Reminder, that game starts at 7:15. It'll be on Braves Vision. It's being simulcast on Gray TV, so if you live near one of those affiliates, you can watch this over the air. And they're continuing to drop more announcements on more broadcast options. We saw Spectrum earlier in the week. We saw Comcast Xfinity on Thursday. I've been told that DirecTV should be coming today. There was a chance it could have been last night. It could have already come out by the time this show is live. But again, we'll discuss more of that, and we'll preview specifically Cole Ragans, what he does, how the Braves have fared against him, all of that stuff later this afternoon. So if you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe to Braves Today. Hit the notification bell so you know when we drop that episode. I'm going to try to go live. No promises, but we're going to try to go live. I do have some visual aids and things like that for you, so it is going to be a YouTube, probably a YouTube exclusive there. But either way, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Subscribe both here and at bravestoday.com. We also have a written version of this. We have the post-game stuff over there. The post-game article goes up after I've finished the Locked On Braves postcast with my good friend Jake Mastriani after every game. That is back. We are doing that tomorrow. Jake might be doing it from Truist Park. We'll see. Until next time, this has been Braves Today.